Have one here. One online.
Yeah, I see Anna, but we can't. Can we start now?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Anna?
I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And how's the weather up in Oklahoma?
A little hot.
Right.
Yeah.
It is 4 o'clock. I'm calling this meeting to order. We have only 3 people here, but we have one. Now we have 4 people here, and we have one on Zoom. So can I have roll call, please? Just in time.
Roll call. Chairman Anker Jensen.
Present.
Vice Chairman Dr. Joe Hinojosa. Treasurer Gerardo Gonzalez. Secretary Liliana Elizondo.
Present.
Board Member Frank Orozco Jr. Board Member Anna O'Quinn.
Present virtual.
Board Member Benjamin Peña. For the record, Board Member Frank Orozco Jr. and Treasurer Gerardo Gonzalez are absent.
I'm on right now.
He's
Frank said
virtual.
He was going to join us.
Yes, he
Is he
just
good?
joined us.
Yeah.
Yes, Frank is online.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Frank.
Afternoon, everyone.
Next item, public comment period. There were no registered comments, Chairman. Next item, consideration and action, if any, on the following items. 1.1, approval of the minutes of the July 17, 2025 regular board meeting. 1.2, approval of the payments issued in July of 2025.
You all read them. Any, can I have a motion to
I make a motion to approve both items.
both items?
Second.
Second, any discussions? Any, Anna, Frank?
None.
All those in favor say aye.
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 The ayes have it, the motion passes. Next item.
Next item, staff report. Business retention, workforce and space energy efforts, marketing and communications, business recruitment and community engagements, and executive report. Space and energy efforts presented by Giovanna Rangel.
Good afternoon, board members. In this past month, Marcela and I attended the Innovate Space Global Economic Summit in Arlington. We were able to connect with Ms. Gwen Griffin, who is board chair for the Texas Space Commission, as well as Mr. Norman Garza. So it was an excellent event where they were able to provide and highlight the global economy report, worth $613 billion for the space. So that was amazing to be there, be present. So thank you for that opportunity. We also attended the Galaxy at Starbase Gala. Thank you all for being there. Within the month as well, we were able to meet with top leadership for SpaceX. Gilberto, Jerry, and myself are having great conversations in workforce and future projects. We also had the high demand job training grant ceremony in the month of August or July, I'm sorry. Thank you those that were present. This was a huge milestone because we were able to match $150,000 with Texas Workforce Commission for high demand job certifications. So we continue to monitor that grant and we will give you a report once that concludes, and that should be at the end of October 31st. We also were able to connect with a new SVP, Mr. Mark Palazzo. Gilberto and I had great conversation and received an update on the LNG project. They brought a video where we were able to see basically the latest updates on that project. We also had the opportunity to have our team be able to tour the SpaceX facility. They were able to see the latest changes and expansion for SpaceX. So that was a great opportunity. We also met with Linde. Linde is working on putting together a hiring event in September 23rd. So they are getting ready to hire 12 CDL truck drivers. So that will be, they will be transporting basically to SpaceX. So that will be nice to be present and see the start of the hiring event for that project that we've announced. CTE Teacher Luncheon, we were able to sponsor that initial luncheon for these teachers. We spoke at their luncheon, and so it was just incredible to be able to connect with them and thank them for the collaboration throughout the year and any future projects that we have with them as well. In addition, we did a little introduction tour with Ms. Natalie Garza, who is our new Talent and Industry Relations Coordinator. She's here today. She will be speaking in a bit. I brought her over to meet a couple of the workforce partners, GBIC, Workforce Solutions Cameron, TSTC, a couple of projects that we're working on. So that way she's able to take on the BRI and the workforce as she continues. And lastly, Project Vortex is a project with Star Society. This is an incredible project that we'll be sponsoring and just assisting them, finding them a space. They're gonna bring high school students together to basically build a rocket and in the next year or so, launch it. So this rocket is about 12 feet high, right? Not sorry, a SpaceX rocket. So we're very excited for these high school students to have this opportunity and to be able to be a part of that. Next slide. And then lastly, wanted to report on the Skills Development Fund that we were able to land with our local employer. So this project took about 6 to 8 months. The reason for that is because it is state funding. GBIC did not put any funding towards this. We just partnered up and made sure that we brought the right institution to our local employers, so in this case, Mueller. Mueller was looking to upskill their employees, and we were able to do that for them. So they were awarded $61,935, and this will bring training for 88 employees in different areas such as leadership, CNC, blueprint reading, and so on. We were able to meet with them, and training is starting September 9th, so we're excited to see that unfold. They have 1 whole year to be able to go through with the grant. Any questions? Thank you.
Anna, Frank, anything?
No questions. Thank you. Sounds like you're staying busy.
Oh, you're working hard. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rangel. Next item, Business Retention and Expansion and Workforce Development by Natalie Garza.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Natalie Garza, as Joanna mentioned. I am the new Talent and Industry Relations Coordinator. I just started 3 weeks ago with an opportunity with GBIC, and I am very grateful with them. As I started with my journey in GBIC, I have been able to tour 3 of the companies. We've been able to introduce ourselves, be able to relate, and be able to tour the companies itself. I will be following up with them in a monthly basis so that we can continue with our relationship. Also during these 3 weeks, I was able to fly out to 3 conferences where I was able to understand what my position and how important it is, and in fact, for Brownsville.
Any questions, anybody? Anna, Frank?
No. Thank you and welcome.
I just want to welcome her.
Yeah, me too. I mean, welcome on board.
Thank you so much.
Everybody else, let them ask questions first and get you nervous and stuff, and then I'll say, welcome on board.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Nice to have you.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Next item, Marketing and Communications by Marcela Sainz.
Good afternoon, board members. I have great news today. We officially have a new website. Our new website is live. If you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to open it on your desktop computers so that you have a full picture of everything and you can go tab by tab, watch all the videos that we have in there. This picture that you see right here, the big one, that's not a picture. It's actually like a loop video with different images of Brownsville. And next slide. And this is a little bit more of the website. It's things that you can find on the homepage. if you scroll down, and we have great testimonial videos, one of our CEO, one of the mayor, and two more from manufacturers from Brownsville. Next slide. Social media. We had a very good month. Our social media accounts keep growing. And here I just included a few snapshots of original content, videos that we produced, and pictures that we took at events. Marketing and PR. We sent out our second site selector newsletter. And also we hosted our first site selector advisory committee meeting. We had 3 big announcements this month. The first one was Linde's expansion to Brownsville. And I included some pictures of the media coverage that we received from that press release. We can go to the next slide. And here are the 2 other releases that we sent out this month. One, the great news that Brownsville was named number 2 in the US for lowest manufacturing operating costs, and also Superior GHQ that will be expanding operations to the North Brownsville Industrial Park. And last but not least, our annual report. Update is we're already done reviewing our current efforts and programs and everything that we did for this last fiscal year so far. Next step, we are completing internal surveys, and also we are sending out external surveys to partners and different companies that we collaborated with this year.
Yes, I have a question, or actually a statement. I am very proud to see our marketing and communications taking like a 180 since before you arrived and before our executive director arrived. I mean, I've been seeing so many news articles on Facebook and other entities about promoting what GBIC does. And the community is fast becoming knowledgeable of what our position is in Brownsville. So my hat is off to you, and also to Salinas over there. I thought you had left. But I have to admit, under his tutelage and your overseeing and everyone on the staff, my hat is off to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hinojosa.
I read the article from San Antonio News, whatever, very impressive. I think they got North Brownsville Industrial Park a little bit bigger than it was. They put it at 730 acres, but small things. That was very impressive. You know, you guys are doing a great job, and I'm really looking forward to looking at that website. It's going to be great.
Thank you, Chairman.
Very much. Anybody else?
One more thing. What are the next steps for the webpage? What are we going to do with it? I mean, it's up and running. What is your view for the following months? Or what changes do we need to be making? Or what else is there any enhancements missing webpage according to what your vision is for the webpage?
Right, absolutely, yes. The idea is, the plan is to keep growing it. We're gonna have many more testimonials. We're gonna have obviously news releases, etc. Also, we're working on the analytics. We're gonna be able to get data on our analytics and just building it little by little. We're working on different things right now. Like, for example, we are creating a video of the Greater Brownsville Tech District that will be added within the next 2 weeks. And that's all I can think about right now, but we're definitely putting together a plan to keep growing our website.
Thank you, Marcela. And I'll add to that. So websites, they're, unless you're actually selling a product where you're gonna, be collecting money, they're informational. And the focus of this website is to make sure that the information that site selectors need is there for them, because that's exactly our audience. You know, the audience is not so much, you know, for the locals or not so much for a national, international stage. It's more for site selectors, because they're the ones that are looking for where they're going to look at that next project. So that's what this website provides. And then the other one, when it comes to promoting both the organization, but more importantly, Brownsville, there's been kind of a nexus here in the last 7-8 years where social media took over websites. So now it's all about social media. What are you doing on social media to get your brand out? And our brand is not GBIC. Our brand is Brownsville. Be happy to come back and provide some of those numbers as far as what we're doing on social media at our next board meeting, in addition to our website.
And the other thing, I think in one point we had discussed that when they look for it, like the EDC for Brownsville, it's not there because of the name that we have. So we were gonna, I don't know if we're gonna spend some money to try and put it when they look for that, the website, or in this case, the social media, would that appear? I don't know if we're looking at into that.
We've looked into that. That's a great question. I'll further elaborate that maybe perhaps at the next meeting, because there's several factors that go into that. But we did hear, actually, Jerry and myself were in a meeting in Austin last week, and we did hear from somebody, you know, we're trying to find you online and we're a little confused. You know, there's another organization in your city that does economic development. So we kind of had to clarify the distinction between the two. So that's something that we've been looking at and we'll be working on here and have some kind of resolution before the end of the year.
Maybe something, like I did see that you have Brownsville on there. Like what the city of Brownsville offers, what Cameron County offers, what the state offers. Maybe something similar that says like BCIC, like just a clarification of what the difference is, so they don't think, you know. Because I thought that was great that that's on there, you know, that shows that there's coordination between the city and this organization. So that's good.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, absolutely. We'll look into that.
Anybody else? Okay, you're off the hook. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. Next item, business recruitment and community engagement by Jerry Briones.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. So we had a total of 23 leads this last month. We had 4 business development meetings that right now I'm currently working to setting up some meetings, 3 in Monterrey, 1 in Ciudad de Mexico. We also have 4 active projects that have come through this last 30 days, aside from the active projects that we've had in the previous months. We've actually done 3 site, they've actually had 3 site visits, and we're currently working 1 rather large project. We're under an NDA, but we submitted some, we're in phase 2 of that project. We submitted some additional information on workforce and incentives last week. Gilberto helped us with putting a case study together, and then we got letters of support from all our workforce partners as well as from Workforce Solutions Cameron. The job has the potential of bringing in over a 10-year period, 10,000 jobs. It is a port project, but it did come through the governor's office directly to GBIC, and we did pass it along. Aside from that, we had 15 governor RFIs come through. The other thing, and Griselda and Ms. Herendida are not here, but they are also working very closely on the business development side. They're actually in Monterrey. They were in Querétaro before that, so they've had a busy week through several meetings with COSTEP. They'll also be in Monterrey next week at the WTC meeting with Texas, Café con Texas, which Salvador and Elazar will be attending. So we're trying to hit on all cylinders and keep business recruitment moving forward. Thank you.
Any questions for Jerry? Buddy, thank you very much, Jerry. Good work. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Briones. Next item, executive report by Gilberto Salinas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As Jerry mentioned, there's quite a few prospects that we're working with right now. He mentioned the 23 leads. And just to make a distinction, those are not the 23 companies that we just pulled out of thin air. Those are 23 qualified leads that have gone through the whole spectrum of identifying them, whether it's through our partners and then doing the recruitment, and then getting on their radar and then the recruitment, and then getting them to the qualified lead stage, which means they're that much closer to actually becoming a project or a prospect. So our activity is pretty high right now. Again, this just goes back to our organization. We're pretty assertive, pretty aggressive when it comes to lead generation. Goes back to our partnerships at the state level, our engagement with the Monterrey office. Actually, Ben, you were there last week when we were meeting with them. Outreach with site selectors. We're at trade shows. Jerry mentioned that we've got a couple of people out at trade shows, networking events, and internally just following up with suppliers and all the different leads that we have. Again, in the business that we're in, it's the name of the game is getting in front of prospects, having that in-person meeting and pitching in Brownsville. Talking about relationships, in the last few weeks, we have had several visits with the Office of the Governor, specifically the Monterrey, the head of the Mexico office, which is in Monterrey, looking to support us with 2 different projects, both of which are looking at the Greater Brownsville Tech Park. Also working the 2 port-related projects, one of which is pretty significant, which we would like to call a game changer. Now, switching gears here, allow me to introduce, well, you already met her, Natalia Garza. She is our newest member of the GBIC family. She comes from industry, having worked the supply chain for the last 10 years for Creative Liquid Coatings, that's TLC, or the former CK Technologies. She's a talented industry relations coordinator. So basically she's doing our BREE program as well as workforce. And she's tasked with providing customer service to local industry. At the end of the day, that's what we are. We recruit companies and we provide customer service to our local industry. She's also helping expand our supply chain and working to develop our local workforce as well. And she actually accompanied Jerry, she mentioned that, on a recruitment mission and helped host a prospect. And she's been in industry for some while, and then it took her that, once she went through that process, she's like, wow, I didn't realize all this work goes into working a project. And I'm like, oh yeah, it did. Sometimes it takes years, right? But there's a lot of work that goes into it. So with that, help me welcome Natalie Garza. Talking about the team, half of our team members will be attending the IEDC annual conference. That's in Detroit. That's the International Economic Development Corporation. That's the trade association for economic developers. It's important for staff development, and especially since this organization had not been sending staff to the IEDC. And I know because I've been there for the last 20 years. So it's very, very important that they get this training. And also, somewhat of a bonus because we're going to be speaking at that conference. We're going to be speaking about using other economic developers can use Brownsville as a model for growth. Everything goes back to what we're doing with SpaceX, Starbase, and how we're further flushing that whole supply chain for that particular project, and basically how to transform your community. I don't have a clicker. Somebody's got the clicker, right? Next slide there. And as Marcela mentioned, I'll leave you with this, this headline. It came out today, and what I love about this headline is the lead paragraph. Brownsville industrial sector is on a roll. I don't want to say it doesn't get any better than that, but it doesn't get any better than that. When that lead sentence for that story says exactly what we're doing, I mean, I want to see, well, I'm going to brag a little bit here. I want to see other valley cities try to match this, because this is exactly what we're working on, and this is our goal, and that's the end game for us. With that, I'd like to say that everybody in this team, including this board, has a piece or a part of that headline. What I've told us that when I first got here, and even today, is trust me, there's a whole process here. You have to let this process play out. Economic development is strategy, lots and lots of strategy. It's part science, It's a little bit of art as well. It's risk, calculated risk. You have to take those risks. There's a lot of EQ, that's emotional intelligence. There's one thing in economic development, you have to have a high EQ, which is emotional intelligence, and a little bit of luck goes a long way. So again, that headline is just a snapshot of what's happening here in Brownsville, and you all have heard me say this, we're just getting started. With that, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Gilbert,
Yes, sir.
vetting process, are we still using the city to do that, or who is doing that when we vet a company?
We do that internally.
We do
Yeah,
that?
we have a process to vet companies. Once we've qualified them, and once they announce that they're going to come in for a site visit, that's when the actual vetting process starts. Looking at where the company's from, what part of, if they're part of bigger conglomerate, some of the stakeholders. And once they're here, and if there is going to be incentives that's going to be requested, which the majority of the time they are, then we start the process of asking for financials, and that's a whole other different process. So we do that with every one project that we consider the qualified lead / site visit. Once you get to a site visit, that's when it starts getting serious.
Who takes the lead on the vetting? Who's the lead?
Jerry from our office is the one that works on that.
Who?
And Jerry.
Oh, okay.
Jerry, and he's got a team of people within the organization, and he'll assign that.
Does our legal counsel get involved with any of the vetting?
He gets involved on the contract phase.
Okay.
Once we're getting close to the incentive side, he starts getting involved, helps with the vetting, and then on the contract side as well.
Customer service, are we at all working with the Chamber of Commerce for that segment of service? Because that's kind of what they do is servicing customer. We get them in and they're supposed to take care of them when they're here. Is that something that's still on the table, or we take care of our own?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense we collaborate with the Chamber of Commerce. We've done that. I've done that in any city that I've been in. A great relationship there, and no, in the sense that our clients are different. Our clients and our scope and our focuses are different. So we work with the industry, with the big companies, which some of them are Chamber members. However, when it comes to supply chain, logistics, developing their workforce, that's not really what a Chamber does. Some of them do, but in this one, well, I can't speak on behalf of the Chamber, but we're the ones that get in there, roll up our sleeves and figure out if they have an issue or not. How do we get them to that next level?
Hey, lately, I want to commend you for including the staff, all of the staff you can to the different seminars, conferences and stuff. It's good that you take as many as you can with you to these different ventures. Gives a good working together, brings the team good together. I commend you for that.
Staff development, staff training is at the very top of the list for us.
Thank you.
Yeah. My hat's off to you.
All right.
You don't have a hat.
Well, because it's off.
Lots of dad jokes up here.
That's why I don't have a hat on.
Anything
Lots
else,
of
Gil?
dad jokes. They said the same one. These two.
Okay, they wear the same hat.
He's not wearing a hat.
Anything else, Gilbert?
No.
Thank you very much, sir. Good
Thank
work.
you.
The whole team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. Next item, discussion and possible action, if any, on the final payment for project SQC with the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, UTRGV, presented by Ron Garza.
Chairman, board, good to see you again. My name is again Ron Garza. Thank you. Ron Garza with UTRGV, just providing, part of the due diligence here of the project closeout. I'll quickly summarize. I'll make this presentation short, but quickly summarize. If you recall, back in 2023, January 25th of 2023, we executed the performance agreement for this project. It was a GBIC's launch BTX program. So together with staff, we formulated and put together this project. And Future SQC was the company that we worked with very closely, and I know the CEO, Eduardo Cerda, and a few of the project team, they're online, and as well as my director of entrepreneurship, Linda, is here with me. But just to refresh everybody's memory, this was a workforce project. So basically, the funding from GBIC came directly just to UTRGV to hire students and a project team to work on this project, which was an applied research to kind of solve some industry-based challenges. So it was a mixed reality. So we used Future SQC, which was the company they owned this proprietary software for manufacturing. But essentially, what we were going to do is take that and use mixed reality to interface with, primarily on our manufacturing side, to basically combine the mixed reality with a visual twinning device, right? So that was the project outline. This was the student team. We had those students, and the really cool thing about this, and if you recall when I did the 50% completion report, all these students were of mixed. Oscar Martinez, which is on the call, he's a PhD candidate, but a lot of these students as well were undergrads and graduates. So these are all engineering-based students. They're from all over the valley, but a lot of the work was obviously done here in Brownsville. And most of these students here have since graduated, which is great, because working on a project like this, especially as undergraduates, that's just something you don't see, that this was direct applied research. So this was the team that were very well engaged. I got to pop in with them here and there, but very proud of this. And if you recall, just for the record as well, that this project, the project deadline was to close in December of 24, I'm sorry. And we did confirm that, I sent staff back an email back in December, basically confirming that we did complete the project. The project had 3 large task areas and 9 sub-task areas that were part of our performance agreement. And do want to confirm that all those performance agreement tasks were completed. And like most projects like this, we actually took it well beyond what was just required. These projects kind of take different organic turns. So we completed all 3 subtasks, which were required in all 9 subtasks. And essentially what they did confirm, and if you recall, part of this is that, so the manufacturing process and hopefully one day healthcare, that leadership of an organization can monitor the shop floor, so to speak, in a mixed reality format. So that you're not using traditional manufacturing processes, that you're trying to correct something and then go back and spend money. You're actually correcting these things on the fly. So, and this project did confirm that obviously you can use digital twinning and mixed reality. Again, if you recall from the 50%, one thing that we definitely want to offer, and we can coordinate the city bridge, is a demo of this. And it's really cool stuff. I took some snapshots. The presentation was very video intensive, so it's a large file, but I think even that doesn't do it justice to actually see this. But essentially, if you can see there, using that, I think it's called the Halo lens, mixed reality, he's controlling that robot. And this is what the interface that they built looks like. So essentially from an external spot, even across the country, you can monitor a shop floor, right? So those leaderships, they could be having a leadership meeting while the shop floor is right next to them, and they can make changes on the fly, monitoring on the fly. So, this is a neat shot, I thought. I took a snapshot of that because it's somebody's physical hand using some of the digital twinning in a live environment. So that's essentially what this looks like when you're putting it into practical use. So I think most importantly today, I just wanted to confirm that the project has been completed per the performance agreement. Like I said, it was completed back in December. But one thing that's, if you recall as well, this was per the launch BTX parameters, this was a pretty comprehensive multi-stage project, right? So essentially what GBIC funded was workforce development for that student team that created this applied research solutions, right? And now we're at the stage, for those that know the technology maturity levels, there's 9 maturity levels of technology. So this, per the company right now, is around stage 4. So right at the kind of the middle part of development. And once they hit about stage 7, 8, 9 is when they're actually deploying this with customers, right? So the good news about this current stage of stage 4, to move to the next stage, is Eduardo, Mr. Cerda, is looking now to hire about 4 people locally that'll be based out of eBridge. So using the makerspace, and for you're not aware also, as part of the Brownsville UTRGV task force, we're really, one of the main priorities is engineering infrastructure, right? And we know that one day there will be a building built for, engineering specifically, in addition to what we already have. But we're looking at creative solutions like eBridge's makerspace as kind of that stopgap. So again, once you're ready, we can set up a tour. I think it gives you a good, and obviously we can have the CEO down here so you can really start looking at what the next stages of the company will be. But again, part of, my perspective on this project, not only working for the university, but coming from economic development, was, okay, it's multi-phase, but we eventually want, local job creation, which again, I can confirm that Mr. Cerda is still very committed to that. So happy to answer any questions. Again, this is kind of a pioneering project because this has really opened the door to undergraduate research, and professors are really taking advantage of that. And this is happening on all types of other engineering projects.
Now, you said this is an undergraduate program that the students are primarily undergraduates?
It was
with
about
some,
half, it was about half undergraduate. There was a few that were master's level, but then obviously our PhD candidates were on there as well.
Okay.
So, and traditionally applied research like this would only be done at the PhD level. That's why doing it with graduate students, and especially undergraduates, that's a pretty rare thing for universities. And this project helped open the door to implementing things like that.
Are you planning to expand that undergraduate base?
So this particular project, what they did was they incorporated as part of the coursework. So there was students that were in courses that were related to this that actually also got hired to work outside of class to work on that project. So that model, I know that but we have about 3 other projects university-wide that's happening. Same thing, where there's basically a parallel course where the students are getting hired to work there as well. So, and again, we have a minimum of $15 an hour. $15, right, Linda? Yeah. The university minimum for student employment is $15 an hour. So they're doing $15 an hour while doing undergrad. So, and getting this hands-on experience and opportunities like this, again, that Mr. Cerda is looking here in the near future, in the next 6 to 12 months, to hire 4 individuals. Well, obviously, this project helped groom them. So we're really hoping that a couple of them, if they want that opportunity, will come be employed here and continue their journey.
What is the finished product? And when it's finished, who will benefit from it?
So again, the finished product, it's basically a platform where we're taking the software that was already in existence and combining it with this mixed reality. So this was a very specific, this project was very narrowly specific to manufacturing, but part of the continuing develop of this product is that you can use this. Obviously, looking at a picture like this, you can see how this could be used in healthcare. But essentially, it's a monitoring platform that the traditional method of looking at a screen or looking at the shop floor, you can be doing this in a virtual reality, so you can make changes on the fly. So it's basically a manufacturing efficiency process.
Okay. My question is still, when you finish that product, obviously it's going to go on the market. Who's going to benefit from the profits make it from it? And that's my question. Who's going to benefit when you finish that product?
So the actual company, you mean? So Future SQC is the company that is going to be selling the product with these refinements. But the beneficiary of that is, and part of why Mr. Cerda is moving that company here to Brownsville is because of the access of local manufacturing, So this is a very great, environment to sell this to local manufacturing if they want to utilize this platform to refine their processes.
Yeah,
So-
we've heard that many times. We will move sometime or another in the future, but that's neither here nor there. Are you getting support from BCIC as well?
On this particular project, we are not, but Mr. Cerda is a member of our incubator at eBridge, right? And he also serves as a mentor and other things. So he's interfaced with them, but no financial support from BCIC on this project.
Yeah, but what I'm getting after is we're supporting something to have a benefit either for more jobs or benefit to manufacturing and stuff so we can bring more here. We have more to offer. But here in Brownsville, we're not too interested in setting up things in Philadelphia or Mexico unless we have a benefit for our people here in Brownsville.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
And there's also, you mentioned the benefit of like these kinds of opportunities for these students to help them get jobs at places like SpaceX or LNG, like they need this kind of experience.
Mhm.
So being able to say, I did a project where I did whatever all this is impressive to employers.
Yeah.
So we need to really grow that if we want people like SpaceX to hire local talent. So you got to start somewhere.
That's exactly right. Not only are these students graduating with their degree, but they have a resume now. So this was paid work by students that was working on applied research. And again, just the development, that organic development that is what innovative companies want. The ability to shift, adapt, and, critically think.
Have you done any analysis on those graduates as to their starting salaries when they do finish?
No, as we were preparing this report, obviously we had our internal closeout in December. And now, like I said, what we're really doing now is the team is working with the company. But quite honestly, as we were preparing this and I saw this list last week for the first time of those students and hadn't realized so many of them graduated. So yeah, just from I had the same question. I want to see, are some of these undergrads pursuing graduate degrees or are they employed? And if so, where? Those kind of things. We haven't done that yet, but that obviously piqued my curiosity.
I would like to see that. I like this program. I guess the other question I have, these students are all from our local area. Is that correct? Brownsville?
So I don't know exactly where they lived, but wherever they were from, a lot of the work was done here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every project has its ups and downs. What was the most insightful thing that you learned from this phase of the project that really surprised you?
Again, the perspective that I brought to was very similar to yours in that I wanted to look at the ultimate job output, right? So I myself had to kind of work backwards to that. But the biggest takeaway is that, for me now, is that we opened a door at UTRGV to undergraduate applied research. I don't think it would have been done as deliberately without this project. So that was a benefit that I really didn't see because as they were getting students, they followed some of the coursework and fell into some of the undergraduate work. So now that's an amazing thing that's happening. And one thing that we've learned, and I know, this has happened in Edinburgh and now is, like I said, part of the task force here, we know we need more infrastructure for research, period, right? You need test beds to do this. And so I know the university is prioritizing physical infrastructure for research.
One question for the university. Is the engineering arm more in Brownsville? The classes are more in Brownsville than in Edinburgh, or where is the engineering head?
So just by volume, the easiest way to answer that is like the proportion of all the population. So, and you can take almost any program and it's somewhere around a 75-25 split in terms of volume, density, and infrastructure. So, and engineering, I haven't analyzed engineering exactly, but our executive leadership we just had a meeting about this a couple of weeks ago, and that is basically the population density of students, that's about where it follows. But obviously, we try to do our best to where we're mirroring any program, right? That there's programs here and there. And yeah, there a lot of the classes, I can say this, you know, my son's a junior in high school and he's now dual credit with UTRGV. So I got to see this as a parent from the front end. And a lot of the classes in Edinburgh were full, right? So there's advantage to having some availability of those coursework here, right? So I know I'm kind of going a little beyond your question, but 75-25 is about the answer.
I think this program, I know it's from before your time, Gilbert, the Launch BTX, but I think that these educational things that we've done with BISD and UTRGV are great, and I would love if you all brought more of those back to us. I know we've had changes at the organization, but I think, you know, opportunities for our students are important, and it shows. I'm sure you've heard from many companies that they want to know where are the educational institutions, what programs do they have, and if you show you can do this, you show you can do other things. And so it's good to have that on our resume, right? That we can work with educational institutions. So I think, thank you. And I know we changed the program and you brought us one project a while back and you're like, well, what are the rules?
Yeah.
I want to follow the rules, and we kept changing them on you. So it's good to see you, and I hope we have more projects in the future.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And that, you know, if the board ever does want to bring up a program like this, from an EDC standpoint, I definitely have some perspective, and happy to sit down with Gilbert later and see how we can pull in some more of those, you know, traditional EDC elements to it.
Okay, so what do we do? Approve that's a balance payment that you're looking for?
Motion to approve payment, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, any more discussions? I'm sure that we've had enough questions. Any more discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good work. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Next item, discussion, consideration, and acknowledgement of the Greater Brownsville and Centis Corporation financials presented by Salvador Villapando.
Good afternoon, Board. Today we'll be going over the financials through the month of July, which is 10 months into the current fiscal year. Total assets are 42.7 million, with 700,000 in cash, 27.7 in investments, 670,000 in receivables, which is the sales tax collection, and 13.6 million in assets. Total liabilities are 291,000, and our current total net position as of July is 42.4 million. Within our net position, we have 13.6 million in our capital asset fund and 28.8 in our operating fund. And then within our operating fund, we have 17.7 unrestricted and 11.1 restricted. You all may notice that the restricted fund balance has increased in comparison to last month. It now includes contractual commitments for job creation incentives, as well as any contracts that the board has approved. For example, the construction contract for phase 1, as well as consulting contracts for marketing and the strategic plan. So this now accurately reflects any committed fund balances. On here, we have the budget to actuals comparison through July. Total revenues are currently 7.1 million, with 5.9 million in sales tax, 1 million in interest earned, 199,000 for a sale of land, 4,000 for sponsorships, and 26,000 in miscellaneous revenues. Total expenditures 5.2 million, with 2.6 in operating, 75,000 in incentives, 2.5 million in initiatives, and overall we have revenues over expenditures of 1.9 million. Sales tax comparison between June of this year and last year, we had an increase of 1.6%. Total collection for June was 674,000, and then through 9 months, collections are 5.9 million, and we're projected to collect a total of 7.8 million for the full fiscal year. And then before acknowledging the financials, we were tasked to look into the restricted fund balance to identify any contracts that have expired. We did identify 2, Project Surf for 270,000, expired in September of 2022, and Project Cook also expired in September of 2022 for 75,000, we're asking the board to move forward with de-obligating these two contracts, being that there's really no progress towards them being able to complete the contractual requirements in order to move forward with the payouts within the contract themselves.
So which contracts are those?
That is it's on page 5 of 6 for the financials.
Yep.
And it is Project Surf and Project Cook.
Project Surf and Cook,
Yes,
expiring in 2022.
that is correct.
And so is that on the agenda to vote for that, or?
It is not on the agenda. I'm not sure if we can have the board acknowledge the financials and include de-obligating these two contracts as part of this item.
Council, would
have
that
we
be a
notified them?
separate, that'd have to be a separate item for our next meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay. No, I just want to point out that 5 out of the 8 incentive programs that we have here are already expired, right? And so, I don't know, we need to make some telephone calls with respect to, hey, are we going to go forward with these or not? And start, if necessary, de-obligating these ones.
Yeah, and we kind of took a deep dive here the last couple of weeks, Giovanna, myself, and Sal. Some of the ones that were past due, a lot of it had to do, I think, with they weren't getting the information on time, which we should have held their feet to the fire. But we have since received some updates. Actually, we received, I think, this week, updates from 2 of the companies. I don't have the project names right offhand, but we did receive 2. And then we're going to take a closer look at the other ones just to make sure. But we are taking to heart what I think about a month ago the board said, let's take a look at some of these. And these first 2, we actually had passed a payment about 8 months ago on one of them. And it was a good thing that we did take, not intentionally, but we didn't pay it out, because what happened a couple of months after, they're starting to, actually, they're going to leave the city. We looked at any clawback provisions, but the last payment was pre-COVID, and it was actually for building upgrades that they did. And that's how they were paid out on that. So there wasn't a lot that we could do on that end. It was more of a reimbursement that was set up initially. So we haven't paid anything on that. Those 2
With respect to the one that's no longer here in town, so
That's-
there is no clawback provisions on the funds that have already been dispersed, right?
Right.
So those are,
Those are,
Okay.
are gone. And it was pre-COVID. And actually, what we got out of it is a very, very good building now that the airport is going to be able to lease out with a lot of new improvements, a lot of new infrastructure. It's going to be an easy sell.
with respect to the ones, you said you contacted 2 and they got updates, are they expecting to continue with the incentives or no?
They, I think one, this will be the last payment. Right. Right. No.
But those contracts have not expired?
No.
Okay, no, I was talking about the expired ones, because we got 5 of them.
Which are I'm not sure which
22,
ones.
There's 2 for 22.
One we just paid, right?
Yeah,
Project
Surf and
Launch
Cook,
PTXP.
we're going to de-obligate.
We just paid the 4th one. That was 105 today.
Yeah, we de-obligated Surf. Vida, we just signed a new contract. That's why Vida's still there.
So it's just Surf and Cook.
Yeah, all the other ones are active. Rich, we don't pay out until 26. Project Green Gods, we've already paid out. We're still,
What created?
yeah, and the remaining are still active. 28, 31, 25.
Oh, sorry. Yes, okay.
That's why I was like.
Okay.
But we're watching closer.
Yeah, if they're expired, I mean, at this point,
Yeah, we,
close them out, right?
But
we
let's
actually
say-
expected one of them to reapply, and what happened was they got bought out. And they said, no, we're going to reapply. And they never reapplied, which we should have deobligated them anyway, right? Because they were a new company. So yeah, that was our responsibility.
On the one that, the Launch BTX one, that's the one from today, right? Because those are the same
Yes,
numbers.
ma'am. Yeah, that'll
But
be
it
closed.
says 2023. So I mean, like, we need to make sure that those dates correspond with like when they're actually supposed to finish, because he said
Right,
it's supposed to
we-
be December of 24,
Absolutely.
and there it says September. And that might be because sometimes we would sign contracts and then nothing would start. That's how we ended up like that with Vida.
Yeah,
Or
it's,
they get extended.
yeah, they get extended. On Vida, it got extended, I think, prior legal counsel. It took a little longer to get the contracts signed.
It was that there was a date on it and then it got signed
Right,
later.
and then, yep. I think it was supposed to start in October, and it got moved to December, and then it got moved to January. And then this year, we kind of fixed it with Gilberto on board. I said, you know what, why don't we just start it so we can get it back on track instead of having to try to extend it every time we do that.
Yeah.
So it'll expire at the end of the year.
Quick question on Project Green Gods.
Yes, sir.
Didn't we pay a portion already of that one?
Yeah, we've already, yeah. Yeah, we
I
did.
think we need to amend that portion because it's showing that it's, that they don't, we already
The
paid.
2028, the only reason it's still extended to 2028 is because we still keep track of, that they're keeping the number of employees they said they were going to keep.
The
So,
balance is zero, so we don't owe
right,
them anything.
we don't, yeah, we made the last payment this year. And actually BCIC owed them also for a generator, and they took care of that too. So yeah, so if you see like Green Gods, it's because we're still tracking that they retain the jobs as part of the agreement.
So I think we need to probably move it down or something like completed and just so it doesn't mix.
Okay, yes,
I
sir.
mean, just for viewing purposes.
Right, well,
Yeah,
we'll do.
and this is just the accountant in me. Sal, could you put them in maturity order? Like the ones that are gonna mature in the future, put them way at the bottom, the ones that are expired at the top that way. From an aging standpoint, we're going to read top to bottom. That's just the accountant in me. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Any other questions?
So I'll make a motion to acknowledge the financials.
Second. Oh, one more question. So on your schedule for the sales tax history where you show the October through June collections, and you're at a total of 5.8 million, that's on page 406.
Yes,
Does that mean that we've only, through today, that we've only collected through June, or have we already collected July and August?
that is through the month of June. There's a 2-month lag, so that's just actual collections. from
So
October through June.
those are June collections that happened in perhaps July? Or when did the June collections come in? I guess I'm trying to,
Those June collections are remitted from the comptroller to the city in August, and then from the city of Brownsville to GBIC within the same month. So
let me rephrase the question. The June amount in green, the 673, 947, when did we receive that?
we should be receiving it, if not already, within August of this year, but it's reflected as a receivable as of July.
Okay.
Within the July financials.
So through August, we have a 2-month lag, really, right?
Right, 2-month lag.
Okay.
We were
So,
still
but-
pending collections.
But that's what you've accrued in the financials through the June
Right,
financial.
that is correct.
Okay, I'm just trying to, in my mind, formulate when we're receiving the funds as opposed to accruing.
Yes. So through these financials, they're accrued and then recorded or received in August, and then you clear the accrued
So
receivable.
white is collected, green is accrued.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
More questions? Have a motion and a second already, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Excellent report.
Next item, discussion, consideration, and possible action, if any, to approve the GBIC fiscal year 2026 budget presented by Salvador Villapando.
Let me interject real quick, before Salvador, presents the budget. July 17th, we presented the draft budget to the GBIC, to our organization. Came back with some instructions on what to do with it. The week of August 4th, we revisited with a couple of board members, and also, Frank, board member Frank, was absent, at the previous meeting, so we presented the budget to him as well. And then August 19th, we had a workshop with the city of Brownsville. And at that workshop, it was requested by the city commission, the mayor and the city commission, to make $500,000 available for BCIC. So we included that in the budget for next fiscal year. And then we're supposed to, well, we are actually going back September 2nd for the final reading of the budget. But the city asked us almost last minute to come in this past Tuesday to approve the budget. So we went and the budget was approved. Today, we're looking for approval from this board, and then we go back September 2nd for the second hearing and final approval of our budget.
Yeah, so this slide just highlights those key dates. Today, GBIC board adopts the budget, and then we go back to city commission September the 2nd for the final adoption of the fiscal year 2026 budget. On this slide here, we just have the summary of the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget. Total revenues are 9.2 million, with 8 million in sales tax and 1.2 million in interest income. Total expenditures, 21.5 million, with 4.2 in operating. Contractual commitments, 1.5, and 15.8 million in initiatives. Overall, we are budgeting at a deficit of 12.3 million. We're projecting to begin the fiscal year with a fund balance of 23.5 million, and we're budgeting to end the fiscal year with a fund balance of 11.3. On this slide here, we have a summary of the operating expenditure category. Overall, we're budgeting 4.3 million as mentioned, 2.3 million in personnel services and benefits, 335,000 in OpEx, and those are the day-to-day operations, 136,000 for the administrative agreement with the city of Brownsville for the services they provide to us, 220,000 for travel, 72,500 for professional development. Those are trainings and continuing education for staff. 290,000 for professional services, like the strategic plan and consultants that we utilize throughout the fiscal year. 550,000 for marketing. That's for both internal and external marketing efforts. And lastly, 350,000 for community activities. Those are for both sponsorships for community partners, as well as GBIC events that we have throughout the year, such as Careers in Coffee, Raleigh in the Valley, Space Symposium, and Space Fest, among many others.
We still don't have expenditures over here. We don't have sale of land. No estimate of income.
No, so for the budget, we don't budget for any potential sale of land. I guess it isn't best practice, not until this land is actually sold, we'll record that activity within the financials. But you will see that any potential sale of land within the financial forecast that was provided within the board packet. It should be the last page after the detail for the line items of the budget.
So right now it's in our assets.
Right now, the land is reflected within our capital asset fund. Once it is actually sold, we'll reflect that activity within the operating fund and then decrease it from the capital asset fund.
On the phase one, we have 15.5 million, and on phase two, only 5 million for next year. Is that going to be enough to get phase two going?
So phase two, the total estimated completion or cost for the phase itself is 17 million. We budgeted 5 million with an anticipated start date of April. So that'll be just more than halfway into the fiscal year itself. The rest of the 17 million is being accounted for in the following fiscal year. And you should be able to see the total cost reflected within the forecast between fiscal year 2026 and 2027. And again, that should be the last page within the packet that you have for this item. It's not within the budget itself, but there is a forecast that reflects the total cost of phase one and phase two.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions? Ben?
I still got couple more categories to go
Okay.
over. This is category 2 of 3 contractual commitments. This includes any job creation or job training incentives. We're budgeting 550,000. These are for any incentives that have a high probability of being paid within the 12 months of fiscal year 2026. And then as well as budgeting 944,000 for the yearly debt service contribution to the city of Brownsville. So again, 1.5 million for this category. And then the last category is the initiatives, 15.8 million. Next slide, please. So within this category, we're budgeting a total of 15.8 with 6.5 million for phase 1 of the tech district. That's for the completion of the tech district with an estimated completion date of March 2026. 5 million for phase 2. And again, that's with an anticipated start date of April 2026. 2.4 million for the Greater Brownsville Tech District office building. The office building has a total estimated cost of 4.8. We're budgeting half in fiscal year 2026, and then the rest of the costs in fiscal year 2027. 500,000 for the partnership with BCIC. 380,000 for the North Brownsville Industrial Park. That's for landscaping and sidewalks needed at the park. 300,000 for workforce development and training. 250,000 for space-related activities. Those are to support initiatives, projects, and opportunities in the space sector. 200,000 for small industry grants. Those are for any companies that may not qualify for any of the incentives that we offer. 200,000 as a contingency, and then lastly, 50,000 for a prospect vehicle. And then, so that covers the fiscal year 2026 budget.
So the prospect vehicle for 50, is that? I thought we were at 85 or closer to 100 for that on the van.
It was left at 50. If we need to move budget within line items and line items to cover the actual cost of the vehicle, we can move forward. For example, we have 200,000 within contingency as a flex to cover the actual costs once we move forward.
One of the things that we're looking at, we do have a vehicle right now, so we're looking at the trade-in value as well to try to get us to what the Sprinter van would cost.
Okay.
Well, I make a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget.
Second.
Any more discussion? Wait, what happened to Anna and Frank?
I'm here.
No question.
Question, Anna?
No, I don't have any
Frank?
question.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we finish discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion passes. Next item.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm going to ask if we can move items 9 and 10 to after executive session.
Sounds good.
Any problem? Yeah, that's good. We can do that.
Next item, closed session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, 551.072, and 551.087, related to 11.1 Project Industrial, 11.2 Project Mount Main, 11.3 Project High Voltage, and 11.4 Project Stellar.
Thank you, Josh.
I know. All right, well. Why not? I don't.
Okay, so will I need a motion to read?
You need a motion to reconvene.
I need a
make a-
motion to
yes.
reconvene.
I make a motion to reconvene,
Second.
Chairman.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are officially back in session, Beto.
Chairman, we're going to request a motion for items 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, and 12.4 to proceed as directed in executive.
I make a motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussions? Any more? We cannot. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, the motion passes.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
We need to also take on items 9 and 10.
Oh.
Action items 9 and 10.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay,
Yes, and so for action item number 9, we're going to request a motion approving said motion.
So moved.
second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the motion passes.
And then we're going to take no action on item number 10 at this time.
Is that a motion again?
We don't need a motion for no
Okay.
action, so we can proceed to adjournment.
Now,
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, we are adjourned. Thank you very much for coming and thank you for
Thanks,
waiting.
Frank. No,
It's
safe
been a long
travels.
meeting.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, everyone. Josh.